Good evening. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Calimesa City Council and successor agency to the Calimesa Redevelopment Agency. This is Monday, June 3rd, 6 p.m. Darlene, could you give us a roll call, please?
Councilmember Cervantes.
Here.
Councilmember Manley.
Here.
Councilmember Molina.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hewitt.
Here.
Mayor Davis.
And I'm here. And then we have our illustrious city manager, Cobo, city attorney, Borough, city clerk, Gertis, finance director, Reed, planning director, Lucia, public works director, Monson, city engineer, yeah, he is here, Thornton, fire chief, O'Connell, and we're fortunate enough to have our illustrious short timer, Captain Peterson. Captain, are you able to stand up?
Flag, place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there somebody here from Mesa View Middle School?
Yeah, that item will be moved to the June 17th meeting.
Move to what?
The June 17th City Council meeting. Yeah, so they were originally scheduled to be here, but they requested that we reschedule them for the 17th.
Well, they got to tell the dummies that too, you know. Okay, thank you. Communications from the public. We have no speaker slips. If you do want to get up and say something for 3 minutes, you can fill out a speaker slip and go for it. Seeing none, I guess we'll move on. Can I get approval of the agenda and consent calendar?
I'll move. Go ahead.
I'll move to approve the agenda and consent calendar.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now we have Sheriff Captain reports. You're moving
Thank you.
right along, aren't you?
Things were happening. Okay,
Yeah.
Things were happening. Thank you. It's not there all the way yet, sadly. It's getting better. For us, I will say I had a lot of calls, especially from the plantation world. Just so everybody knows, yes, we had a massive pursuit the other night. Largely it was all Beaumont, but yes, it touched Desert Lawn, and so I got a lot of excitement from our Desert Lawn friends, my parents included, and and all of the people in there. Sadly, it was a giant domestic matter of kids and drop-offs, and I'm coming to kill you, and I actually showed up, I hate to say. So that led to a massive pursuit, tons of cars, canines, less lethal munitions, caught the bad guy, nobody hurt in the end, had guns on him, and everything else like it was all very legit in the city of Beaumont, around Walgreens, basically, Oak Valley and Beaumont there. But there was a hell of a lot of cars in it, and so it caused a lot of phone calls to start and everything else, and then I had all the follow-up from Plantation the next day and things like that. And so for those that were inquiring or some of that answering, very much that's what it was. Mr. Zaitz kept calling and hitting me with potential problems in the park of Summerwind. And I will say he did a good job in getting me some pictures and some things that I asked for to be able to pass to the crew for give me dates and times. And a lot of it is often unruly teens and those kind of things. And so as he had some community members hit me up and was able to get some of that information, I will say I passed to our city manager, I asked him to get us on calendar for Summer Wind HOA type stuff. I saw it was very much finally time, so could make some introductions, make some connections, and also kind of hear some of what they're saying about park, after hours, and things regarding that. It went a long way when I told him very much I think we need to get involved, and it's time. He explained to me some of it is via Zoom, but there would be upcoming potential for in-person. I told him if he wanted to fly a flyer or some of those things, I certainly would have Hinkle there, and we would go from there on some of that, and he was very happy with. So I expect some follow-up on some of that, and so I don't doubt you may hear some of that, so just keep it in mind. For us, April leading into May, how I always kind of look at our stats, calls per month trend around high 400s to 500s. It went up to 550s, 560s in May. It's pretty much going to be now going into summer. People are getting out of school. We know we're going to have more calls for service, and that's going to drive more activity for us. And so just expect that as we were looking at what we have coming in the summer and those kind of things. I don't doubt there will be more coming shortly. And so that part of things, as you guys may hear, or some of those questions and whatnot on it, it very much is following on trend with us heading into summer and people getting out of school. So with that, any questions for me?
I do. When we had Sheriff Salas here, he
Yeah.
was wanting us to let them know about tagging that's been going on.
About what?
Tagging,
Okay.
and we've
I've-
had
yeah.
some on Singleton down at Dead Ends and Roberts on that fence, the temporary fence.
Yeah.
And they're going to town on it. I don't know if I don't care, but
Yeah, it's no good.
I mean,
just
the
like
green,
when we had,
it's the green
Yes,
material. It's
yes.
going to be trashed anyway.
No,
but
just like when we had it at the storage place, and it was facing the freeway, and same thing. You know, I talked about, hey, we got to have that gone right away. It
so I
sends a
don't
bad
know
message.
if you guys need to look at it or what needs
Regardless,
to be done. It's not bothering me, but
No. It matters. It matters. I don't like it either. It sends the message. I agree. We got to get that stuff taken care of. You're saying dead end to Singleton Roberts at that
you know
fencing?
that temporary fence
Yeah.
when you're dead end to Roberts
Yep.
right there. It's got the green material on it.
Yep.
They've been doing that.
Chief,
That's-
it's back behind the Walgreens as well, too. That same corner
Is it really in that corner? Okay.
at the Taco Bell. I don't think it's the same thing.
I don't know. You're right. It's frustrating. I agree with you. That's one of those blight issues like we talk about that we need to make sure it doesn't stay. So, no, it's good. It is good.
That's it. Thank
Okay.
you.
Anything else? All right. Thank you.
Candidates?
So, since you mentioned it. The 17th will be my last city council meeting. So I will be retiring on the 26th. I'm waiting for my replacement. Mayor, I'll openly say, I know the sheriff is at the All-State Sheriff's Conference out in Indian Wells, I think, right now. All 58 sheriffs are there. And so I don't doubt they go through that first. He told me, Evan, it's obviously high on my radar, so you can start doing introductions, because I mentioned the same. The new lieutenant that is replacing Lieutenant Olson for the station, he's at I'll call it a lieutenant managerial school these next few days, since he just got promoted on all of that. And so I will certainly have him around for our next council meeting, and hopefully before of getting around, my intent was to bring him over to start introducing him to city staff, and I'm hoping I have my replacement then as well. Yeah, very much so. So I've been thinking about it too. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, for sure.
Mr. Fire Chief.
That's a tough act to follow right there.
I know it.
So we'll talk about some statistics tonight. We have a pretty impressive increase year-to-date. Last year at this time, our calls for service were 705. We're up 11% to 781 calls years-to-date. It's a pretty significant increase. We've been hitting it like 2 or 3% over the last several months, but it's popped up. I think cold and flu, and then some of the weather-related stuff, because it's been mostly medical calls. For 88% of our calls, for a total of about 700 calls, or I'm sorry, 600 calls. 23 fire responses for about 3% of our calls, and 5% of our calls at 23 to our neighboring city of Yucaipa. Our average response time is still holding around 6 minutes, 45 seconds. No significant notable calls to remark on tonight. I will announce that we're shooting for July 15th. We're trying to put together for our fire engine push-in. New engine 1 is down, being outfitted, a couple of different modifications, and we hope to put that in service July 15th, along with the dedication, the truck dedication and badge pinning. Recognize some folks that we brought on over the past several months in the last year or so. So hopefully all goes well. Again, that's July 15th. October 12th, we are looking at holding an open house for Fire Prevention Week, National Fire Prevention Week. So Saturday, October 12th, from 8 until noon. And I'll advise the rest of the staff and council to make sure that we're on track for all of that. But a couple notable dates. And pending your questions, that's the end of my report.
Anybody?
No.
Thank
You're
you.
looking out. Okay, business items. Appointment of one council member to serve as a subcommittee member for the Citizen Recognition Project. You want to take this?
Yeah, I'll just give a brief staff report on that. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The last meeting, the city council approved the creation of the Citizen Recognition Program. And one of the items was to select a member of the city council to serve on the subcommittee. It will consist of 2 members of the Parks, Trails, and Community Services Commission and 1 member of the city council. And so the city council decided to defer that decision to tonight. So the item before you is to make that determination. That's it in my report. Thank you.
Okay, I have one speaker slip here from Howard. I think I'll let him go ahead and get up here and speak, and then we can start figuring out which way we want to go.
My name is Howard Reeves. I reside at 1017 Douglas Street, Calimesa, California. I'm here tonight to hopefully go over some points with the City Council on this subject that I've been working on for not only the last year and a half, but probably for the last 10 years. And so I put together some thoughts I'd like to share. I will read through them so everybody in the room can hear them. The filing period for all 3 awards level is August 1 and September each year. If each level gets 1, 2, 3, or more applications, then the work level for 2 commissioners and 1 council member would be very heavy over a few weeks to select a participant for each level. It's going to be a heavy workload. My thoughts have 3 different filing dates for each level. Number 1, the Golden Heart Award, which is for youth. Filing date is February and March, with the recipient receiving the award in April, May, before the school year ends, so the youth can share the news with fellow students, teachers, and school staff. Number 2, Community Enhancement Award filing date is May and June, with the recipient receiving the award in July and August. Number 3, Legacy of Service Award filing date would be August, September, with the recipient receiving the award on October, November, which is currently what's on your agenda now for everybody. Number 4, the council appoint a different council member to serve on each level. Number 5, I will ask my fellow commissioners to appoint 2 different commissioners to serve on each level, with 1 serving on 2, so the workload is shared by all commissioners. And having 3 different council members would share the workload there and not burden 1 council member. you people already have your job as council members. You don't need to be burdened by something else that's added to that. So these are just my thoughts, and I'd like to see that whatever decision you make at the end of this, whether it's tonight or later on, that are done to where this thing flies for the future, and we don't have to come back and massage it, change it, and add to it or subtract from it. So, does anybody have any questions you'd like to ask me?
What do your fellow commissioners think of this?
I haven't presented this to them. This is the first time I presented it, and none of them are here, so
Yeah, no, well,
they haven't heard that.
Okay.
So I'm going to give these copies to Darlene so she can hand them out. I will not be at the next commission meeting because I have surgery
Yeah.
the day before. I got to get my hip replaced so this guy can stand up over here.
So there's 5 commissioners on his.
Any other questions? Okay.
Howard, do you see any reason why the commissioners wouldn't like what you put together here? You anticipate any objections to this? Because if we have to make a decision tonight, that would be...
Well, I'm just offering my thoughts
Yeah.
to try to spread the workload out, where 3 commissioners are assigned to each one, and it spreads the workload out during the year. I mean, we're commissioners 12 months out of the year. You guys are council members 12 months out of the year. So why do we put everything in August and September for all 3 categories, which to me makes no sense.
Mhm.
But I'm just one commissioner and one vote, so I'm just sharing thoughts with you to
Yeah.
try to make this as smooth as possible, where nobody gets burnt out and hates to do their job.
It makes sense. It makes sense, Howard, to divvy up the work. I like that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I would recommend, since these are changes from what the commission came forward with from the last meeting, my recommendation would be, I know that we have a filing period coming up, but I think without that feedback from the commission as a whole, this was presented kind of as a united front, and this is altering that. So, I appreciate Commissioner Reeves' input on the matter, but I think that it probably, kind of to your question, Mr. Mayor, this probably needs to be something that the commission would, as a whole, would recommend to the city council.
I agree with you thoroughly. So we will, if it's all right with everybody, we'll put it aside till the next meeting. When's the next commissioners' meetings? Okay.
Well, that's before our 17th
Yeah.
meeting, so can we put it on the 17th or no?
We certainly can. I would maybe recommend going to the second meeting in July.
That'd be fine.
So, yeah, I think we'd probably, because that is a pretty short time frame from that discussion to when we have to have the agenda ready. So I would rather I'd rather defer it to the meeting following.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Convene the joint city council meeting and successor agency to the Calimesa Redevelopment Agency. Do I hand this gavel over to somebody, or is it, I don't know.
The chair is
Okay.
Go for it. It's your meeting.
yeah.
Do I need that? Okay, so do we know, Will, are you handling this item?
I will begin, and this is just so we're on the record, this is a joint meeting, so this is both the city council and successor agency concurrently, since the budget contemplates approval for both. So that's what the action talks about. So there are 2 resolutions related to city council approval and 1 resolution related to successor agency approval. So when we come to make the motions, that would probably be how we handle it, is that Mr. Mayor would handle the 2 for the city, and you would handle the motion for, handle the motion for the third.
So the third.
Correct.
So, good evening, Mr. Mayor, Chair Cervantes, members of the City Council, and Successor Agency Board. Tonight, we are presenting the, for your approval, the fiscal year 25 budget. And before Celeste gets into her presentation, I just want to say real quickly that this is a process that, this is a culmination of a process that began at the beginning of this calendar year for staff. And this was brought forward for the first time to our Finance Committee, which consists of Mayor Davis and Councilmember Cervantes. And then we had our workshop the day after our last City Council meeting to go over the budget in a lot of detail. And so since the council is familiar with it, there are some very, very minor changes. We're talking, about, a couple $100 here and there from what was presented to you. So this is substantively the same budget that you saw previously. And so with that, I will hand it over to Celeste for the presentation.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, Mayor, members of the City Council. It is my pleasure to present to you the fiscal year 24-25 budget presentation. As City Manager, $1 million in revenues in this fiscal year for the contribution for the acquisition of our ladder truck. And correspondingly, we have expenditures of $11.9 million for the ladder truck that was placed into service in July of this year for that was approximately $2.1 million in expenditures for the ladder truck, and that included all of the outfitting and training and the truck itself. So it was a comprehensive all-in cost. So we have a net change in fund balance before transfers of $116,000. We have budgeted currently about a $200,000 loss, so this is a net $300,000 swing. And as you know, there's many variations throughout the year. We do our best with budgeting and doing projections. This is an upside, but I don't think it's without coincidence. We stay really close to our budget, but there were two pretty significant grants that came through that our staff worked very hard to achieve. We have about $200,000 that came through for the firefighters AFG grant that our fire department sought out, and that was to pay for the SCBA RIT pack equipment. It was required equipment and upgrades that we needed to do, and our fire department went out and got a grant for that. We didn't budget for that for the grant because we don't want to count on dollars that we won't expect to have, so we're very pleased with that. And our Public Works Department team sought out a grant from a recycling fund for $75,000 that helped pay for our skid steer. So that was a nice pickup as well throughout the year, resulting in a little bit of a change with our originally projected budgeted net. We had a net loss. So the net change in fund balance before transfers is $116,000, and we completed $2.3 million of transfers out to other funds. This is another significant number. It was also one time in nature. I did a quick calculation of where the numbers went just to refresh all of our memories. We had $1.2 million going to the capital projects fund, most of which was dedicated towards streets and street improvement projects for our pavement management program, which I believe the engineering team will be coming back again shortly, rather soon, for finishing up that process. And then we have the $750,000 that went to the vehicle replacement reserve fund and $200,000 that was allocated towards the IT fund. And these funds were established to start setting up reserves and funding set aside for future vehicle replacements and IT replacements. So we're starting to develop a deeper mid-year, longer range process with our financial planning. So looking at this year, what we are presenting, this chart is nice because it segregates the ongoing revenues and expenditures and one time. Ongoing is oftentimes referred to as recurring, and this is the column that we work the hardest on and that we, quite frankly, care the most about, because we want to make sure that we always have a structural surplus and that we are well funded going on for our routine ongoing expenditures. We've talked a lot about it with the council over the years, and I think you probably could stand up here and say it as well as I can at this point, but we are pleased to share that we do have a structural surplus. We have a structural surplus of $249,000. We have included 2 operating transfers out in this ongoing column because we have a $5,000 commitment by policy that the City Council has made every year to go to the ADA fund for capital improvements. And the result of which you can see out in front of our City Hall, it helps contribute to that. And we also have a $125,000 commitment that we made for the Monarch pumper that our chief just referenced that's going to be placed into service, it sounds like, in July. So that's the annual ongoing payment. We have one-time estimated revenues. We have, in the interest of being careful with our projections, we have discreetly and carved out a portion of our interest earnings. We actually have projected interest earnings of $175,000 for fiscal year 25. It's probably going to come in a little higher, but again, want to be careful when you're playing the interest game. We want to make sure we're okay there. And because interest rates are so high, we don't want to count on or rely on that as a recurring revenue. So while we can always expect to get interest income year after year, we invest our money. We don't rely on all of that and plant $125,000, plant it in the sand and think, okay, we're always going to get this money, because if interest rates go down, we don't want to be in a position where we have to come back to the council and say, gosh, our interest rates didn't pan out as we thought. So we put that into the one-time column. We have $122,000 of one-time expenditures, of which I have a slide on that we'll talk about. Transfers out, I'll have another slide. So we just wanted to give a quick snapshot of a summary. And we have an estimated ending fund balance of $7.1 million. So in looking at our revenues, this is a chart that was presented also at the budget workshop. What jumps out here, and I think what most of you see, and what's a part of what makes these charts beneficial, is we can see a significant portion of our revenue does in fact come through taxes. It comes through sales taxes, property in lieu, and property tax. $7.9 million, in fact, come through from taxes. So of our $10 million operating revenue budget, it's about 79%, 80% rounded of our total budget comes through taxes. Another interesting point about this with respect to taxes and tax collections, we don't spend a lot of time talking about it because it gets into the weeds, but it's going to come up in a later slide. We also have to think in terms of cash flow and cash position for the city. Most of our revenue, because it is tax in nature, we collect it in the last 5 months of the year. So it comes in from February through June. So most of our revenue comes through at the back end of the year. However, we have 12 months of ongoing expenditures. So we're always keeping an eye on that and balancing our cash flows. Charges for services of $1 million, that's another significant number. $885,000 of that actually comes from our public services CFD. That's a CFD that provides services to complement and take care of our police and fire and park maintenance services. This is a chart that reflects our property tax trend, and what I think is notable as I stood back and looked at this chart is, first of all, it's a wonderful growth pattern to see, especially on the 10-year objective. And what I did is I looked from fiscal year 19 to fiscal year 20, and I looked at that growth and that growth pattern, and it's incredible. But I also want to mention, and I also noticed looking at it just from a visual perspective, that the last 3 years are starting to kind of level out and contract down, and we don't see the rapid changes in growth. Well, this of course makes sense, right? We all know and understand that development has slowed down. We had a lot of projects that came up and running, and from the year ending fiscal year 19 to 20, we had where's my note, $2.4 million more in taxes and revenues, and that is a wonderful trajectory to have. But to be sure, we can see that things are starting to maintain, if you will, based on our existing Calimesa as we have it. We see a similar chart and path with our sales tax trend. This is another significant growth. We had $746,000 in growth since 2020. That's a pretty significant marker for our city. We've had the Calimesa Marketplace go online since then, and we've had some retail development. But again, it's a similar chart pattern that you that we saw on the last slide, that things are starting to level out. And we also know that development has slowed down a little bit the past few years. So while we can always expect and anticipate growth, the growth measures are starting to even up and not be as significant as in prior years. So looking at our expenditures, this is another chart that you all have looked at, but I think it's notable. We put $6.2 million towards our public safety. So of our, again, rounding a $10 million operating budget, 62% of our budget goes towards public safety and fire service and community risk reduction and our COP program. In addition, we also, outside of the general fund, contribute another $200,000 from our supplemental law enforcement safety fund. So a significant portion of our expenditures do go towards public safety. It is a foundation, and I think Calimesa should be proud of the contributions we make towards protecting the citizens. We have growth in our public works department. We have community development. Community development's a little bit of a generic term, so just for members of the audience, that's our building and safety planning and code enforcement. And then we have our administrative functions, which we have grouped together. This is our finance, our city clerk, our city attorney, and so forth. So this is a snapshot, and I do also want to point out the senior center and special events. It's a smaller piece of our pie, if you will, but I thought, boy, we really move mountains with that $228,000, because I see people inside this facility all the time. I see people dancing, I see people exercising. There's a lot of engagement and activity, and I think you all know that we've had a lot of wonderful special events here throughout the city for the year, and we've always been economical in that approach, and we've been frugal and done a lot. It's been a lot of hands-on work, so it's nice to see that. General fund expenditures, this is also an assessment and a reflection. As city manager mentioned in his presentation, a city government, we don't provide goods and services, we don't have inventory, we don't sell anything. We provide service. We provide service to the community, and we manage things. We take care of building permits, we take care of public safety, and so forth. So this breakdown is a reflection of how the dollars are allocated, and you can see most of the portion of the expenditures are going towards city personnel costs, our police contract, of which of course you're familiar, that's with the Riverside County Sheriff, our building and safety contract staff, public works, engineering, community services, and operations and maintenance. This is our, what you see for utility costs, our any supplies that we have, and services of the like of that, and any hard costs that we have. So, as discussed in a previous slide, this is a brief summary of our one-time general fund expenditures. We have a city clerk, supplies, and election. We're going to have an election this year that's going to be about $15,000. We're recommending a finance development impact fee study. The last one that was done was back in 2017, and so we're looking to be more current. And our city, of course, has changed considerably since that time, so we're looking to make the DIF study be impactful for the Calimesa we are today. We have fire equipment. There's some mobile data control communication units that we are required to purchase to maintain effective communication with our Riverside County dispatch provider. Community development, a general plan safety element. This is required. It follows the requirement of the completion of the housing element, which hopefully will be wrapping up soon. And we'll have the general safety plan that we are that will follow. Then we have some net changes in animal control, community services, and information technology. So our one-time expenditures are $122,000. This is a summary of our major recurring general fund expenditures, and generally speaking, our expenditures, where we've seen the greatest impact in expenditures, is for professional services. We have several contracts that run through the city. They have increased anywhere from 5% to 35%. Sometimes it's only $100 a month that it changes, but it reflects a 20% increase. So I think we're all seeing and feeling that inside our engagement when we reach out for professional services in our communities, and it certainly has impacted the city of Calimesa. We also have considerable increases in our insurance costs across the board. We were recommended by our insurance agency to increase our costs on their projections by 20%, and apparently it's coming out pretty close that insurance has increased by 20%, which of course is a considerable amount for, the city, and it's a significant portion. Between the personnel costs and those costs, this is where the bulk of a lot of these increases are. So going down rather quickly, we have the fire and community risk reduction. We have insurance increase, wildland, and ALS. We have a new contract service provider that we are hiring to complement our ALS services, a medical director and training advisor. We have Riverside County Sheriff's Department increase of our contract of 4.5%. IT, Public Works, we have professional services increase. Community development, we have professional services increase, and code enforcement. What's nice inside the community development department is we have a senior building technician that's coming online, and she's going to be available for additional hours. And with the expansion of our code enforcement contract, there are additional resources available within that contract to help provide service to the city of Calimesa and to the residents. City clerk and risk management insurance personnel, we are coming through with a recommendation of a 3% cost of living, and we have position upgrades. We have senior center and special events where we have some increases in professional staff there. And then we have a net change for city manager, city attorney, engineering, and animal control. It's a net decrease. Some of these departments went up, some went down. So it's just a net overall decrease in these departments. So we have additional general fund recurring expenditures of $562,000. So comparatively speaking, when I looked at this, and I looked at this chart fresh, and I was going down the line, and I tried to think in terms of, if I was looking at this for the first time I was seeing it, what would jump out at me? Well, you can see the $5.5 million we projected for fiscal year 24. $2 million of that is our ladder truck, and I thought, okay, that explains that. Then moving on down the line, you can see it's relatively consistent. Some departments went up, some went down. But we do have an overall savings. We had last year expenditures of $11.9 million. This year we have $10 million. I wanted to talk about the transfers out that is being recommended for adoption. We have capital projects fund. These are considered to be one-time transfers from the general fund. This is to support the senior center and take care of roof replacements throughout the city. We're in need of roof replacements above the senior center and city hall and fire department. And we're also looking at a renovation of the 2 restroom facilities in the senior center. As I mentioned earlier, it's being beautifully and wonderfully used, and the restrooms are, I think, in their original inception with obviously some minor maintenance. So, but as I understand, it's been quite difficult to even get replacement parts. So it's been recommended we move forward with a update on the restrooms. We have the ADA improvements; those are recurring. Insurance and fire diff funds; these are also considered to be one time. We attempt to, and we like to recommend to have a fund balance reserve within our insurance fund of 3 times our self-employed insurance rates. So to achieve that, we need to transfer a portion of money over there, and then the other portion of this is a transfer over to pay for the a fire truck that we acquired at the inception of the fire station about 6 years ago now. So this is now working on the long-term repayment of that. We have the vehicle replacement fund of $125,000. That's the transfer for the Monarch pumper that was approved in January. An information technology fund of one time. It's an $80,000 request for accounting software. Our accounting software that we are using, as city manager mentioned, we've been using it since the year 2000, and we do have some updates. We have had some updates, but I hope I'm getting this right, but I think they, when we spoke with our software company, they have less than 200 clients across the nation that are still using the version that we're using. And we were given advisement that we should probably seriously consider updating our software, and we are taking that advice. So with your approval, we'll move forward in that direction. And again, as city manager mentioned, we want this to be on our terms. We don't want to get slammed with 18 months, you better figure something out. So we're deciding to be proactive, and it'll provide enhanced capacity and greater efficiencies and better communication across departments. But this is an estimated quote for kind of the next level. We're not looking to go wild with an accounting software. We just need to level up a little.
Celeste, if I may, a couple of items
Please.
on this. Number one on this, yeah, I think for the accounting software, we want to volunteer rather than be voluntold. And then on the fire diff, I just want to kind of give you a little clarification on that, since we didn't really cover that at this workshop. So when we had bought the truck, we had borrowed money from one diff fund to the other, and we were assuming that we were going to get diff money to come through to pay that off. And with the slowdown in growth, we made the decision just to go ahead and get that paid off, rather than try to rely on that and run that fund with a negative balance. And because we've seen certain other cities that have done that without a lot of success, so we don't want to be caught in that same trap. So we have the funds available. We're transferring them over. We found that based on the interest rate that was acquired for that fire truck, it's actually more prudent for us to move the money over but leave it there, allow it to accumulate interest, and still make the payments. Because we did look at just paying off the lease early, but instead what we did was we decided we're making enough interest on that money versus what the payments are, that's in our best interest to actually hold on to that money, earn the interest, and then kind of do some arbitrage with that, so that we're actually, breaking more even. Because if we paid it off, I think earlier, it would actually cost us more in the long run rather than making the payments. So just wanted to point that out.
Thank you for that. So for fiscal year 24-25, this is another summary of what we believe the year will look like, and as we are projecting, we're expecting to start with a beginning fund balance of about 7.7 million, estimated revenues of 10.2, proposed expenditures of 10 million, with a surplus of 250,000. The 893 distribution will leave us 7.1 million in our fund balance. And this is a point where I wanted to circle back around. We have a beautiful and healthy reserve here. Our minimum reserve requirement, as structured with our policy, is actually 35%. We have 7.1 million, but part of what the 7.1 million contributes to and helps with is that flow and trend of the fact that we get 79% of our revenue in 5 months, in the back 5 months of the year. So not only does the fund balance contribute just for safety and to have reserves that I don't need to belabor right now, but it also helps with cash flow and cash position. So it's nice to have a nice healthy fund balance and reserve. Capital improvement plan, we're coming down the home stretch. Did you have any questions on the general fund? Should I stop now, or? Yeah, please.
We brought up at our budget workshop getting our PASCOM, an old program that we had in the past, incorporated into our city that would be helpful. And we had a brief discussion on it. And I was wondering if maybe we could have that group come and make a presentation to us to get that activated again. I think it would be helpful to the city, and there's interest with our fire department to support that. So I'd like to maybe put that on the...
I think what our kind of the direction we got in relation to the public safety workshop that we had, the chief had mentioned that was going to be one of the partners we were looking at was PASCOM for kind of doing our community risk reduction program. So I think as we bring items forward with that, we're going to explore that with them. So I think we're going to start it at the staff level, but I think eventually, yes, we would probably want to have them come speak to the council on, kind of those discussions and how they would assist the city in that endeavor.
Okay, I didn't see anything in budgets. I just wanted to...
Right. Yeah. I think with the community, with the COP program, I had mentioned, I think at the workshop that it was kind of, the timing was too close from the workshop, from the public safety workshop to the budget preparation, that we're going to be able to incorporate all those costs, because we still don't know exactly what those are yet. And so as we use this basically over the summer, we're going to be exploring that, how we're going to be revitalizing the COP program, how we're going to implement the risk reduction program, and then with that, you know, all the different partners that we would partner with, and then we'll bring back recommendations to adjust the budget to reflect those.
Thank you so much.
So looking ahead at our CIP, our capital improvement plan, capital improvement program as it's sometimes referred, we do have towards the back end of the budget book, we have a 5-year planning horizon. However, within this budget process, what is being approved are appropriations just for the fiscal year coming up in the short term. But we do, as you all know, capital projects take several years, several layers of funding, so it's prudent to plan those out. We currently have 22 projects. There are 20 carryover projects and 2 new projects. We have this library sidewalk to maintain ADA compliance, and the California Street storm drain. There's a proposed $73.5 million over the next 5 years. For fiscal year 24-25, we have $21.3 million. There's an additional $29.1 million of carryover that we already have budgeted. And what I'd like to share with you is this is fiscal year 25 CIP expenditures by category. You can see the majority of our investments with respect to capital improvement planning is in transportation and storm drains. But what is notable is also the funding sources. And what I wanted to say, and again, I looked at this cold and I thought, okay, if I looked at this for the first time, what would I be looking at? And I think what I would like to mention right now is it's important to note that with respect to CIP funding sources, that more oftentimes than not, these aren't discretionary dollars. It's not like, gosh, we'd rather build a swimming pool, or you know, we're going out and we're getting very specific dollars identified for transportation, and so it is the obligation of how funds are to be spent. And then you can see in that rather small little pie little area there on the left-hand side, that's where we have our facilities and IT and vehicles, and that is what is correspondingly funded through those transfers from the general fund. So those are we don't have a funding source other than a general fund to put roofs on our senior center. Now, throughout the year, of course, we work very, very diligently, as I evidenced by this year, to when our fire department obtained a $200,000 and our public works got a $75,000 grant. We're always keeping our eyes open as a staff within our capacity what we can do, but that's a little bit of a correlation. I want to make sure that people and members, I know you all know, I just want to make sure the community at large kind of can see and hear that as people have ideas about how they'd like to see projects happen or what projects they'd like to see, that there's very specific obligated funding sources. So I'm wrapping up to, in conclusion, to the final slide. And as I mentioned, we are looking at doing a mid and longer range planning horizon. And it's not that we haven't done it in prior years, but it's that we've had the benefit of a lot of wonderful condensed growth. So now that we see growth is slowing down, we thought it would be nice to kind of show a chart about what does it look like. So going forward, if this city of Calimesa, this is assuming little to no change with respect to revenues and little to no change with respect to expenditures. These are just natural occurrences. So we estimated very, very modest increases in revenues and property taxes by maybe 2%. We anticipated some modest inflation increases, knowing that it always happens. We weren't budgeting for 8% inflationary increases, but I think Will could probably, maybe he knows better, but it was closer to like a 3 to 5% range. We also did not factor in any changes in services or staff cost of living raises, because it was very important that we didn't want to appear presumptive. We don't have negotiated MOUs, and that is a decision that's made with City Council authority every year. So this is the chart and path which shows that we do in fact are able to maintain, with the city services and staff that we have now, a structural surplus in our city, at least through fiscal year '28. Now, we do the best we can. Of course, you know that we're looking out years ahead, but with reasonable, with low rates of increases in revenues, reasonable increases in expenses, without any big surprises, if you will, we feel confident presenting this budget that it's not only structurally a surplus this year, but also looking forward as well. Before I conclude, I'm going to turn it over to City Manager. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just on this slide real quick, I will add that for example, one example of potential for increased revenue is Summerlin Commons, the retail piece there. Development there has been slow, probably a little slower than we'd like. They've had some utility challenges that they've encountered, which has slowed their progress down. But we had talked, I think, about 6 months ago having vertical construction by March. I think that was right, Kelly? And obviously that has not happened out there yet. But I did get some communication with the developer asking about, because they're looking to be bidding out their construction work for the expansion of the road there. So right now Roberts Road is one lane in each direction. The curb on the northbound side, the east side of the street, is actually a median, and they will actually be building the other side of the road so that side will then be the southbound side, and then you'll have another northbound side on the other side of the median. So that's a good sign to me. That means they're probably ready to move forward with that project soon. And if they're building the road, that means they're probably anticipating that they're going to be going vertical with their construction at some point in the near future. So. But we don't assume any revenue from that in any of these years, even though we probably will have that. Again, we're just basically basing this on only on knowns, I guess is the best way to say it.
So this concludes my budget presentation. Do you have any specific questions or anything else you'd like to talk about? You heard enough?
I think, yeah, we've really gone over this well. I appreciate staff's dedication to this, and it looks like we're on a very good path, so thank you very much.
Thank you. I was saying you all could get up here and probably make this presentation yourselves. You've heard it so many times, so I tried to go quickly. Thank you.
So Mayor's going to handle the first two.
Yeah, and I would recommend handling these one at a time.
Okay. Yes, and before we do, this is a public hearing, so I don't know if anybody was here to talk about the budget.
No,
Okay, public hearing's closed.
I didn't even know it was a public hearing.
I can make a motion for the first one, Mayor.
Okay, go ahead.
I would move that the City Council adopt Resolution 2024-29, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Calimesa, California, establishing the fiscal year 2024-25 appropriation limit.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Who wants to take the next one?
I'll grab it. I'll move to adopt Resolution 2024-30, resolution of the City Council of the City of Calimesa, California, adopting Calimesa fiscal year 2024-25 general fund operation budget, special fund budget, capital improvement program, and cost allocation plan, and amending fiscal year 2023-24 budget document.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And who would like to take number 3?
I'll move that Calimesa successor agency adopt CSA Resolution 2024-01, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the successor agency to the Calimesa Redevelopment Agency adopting the proposed Calimesa successor agency budget for fiscal year 2024-25. That was a mouthful.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Did you get a second?
Wendy, John got a second. Wendy, motion, John second.
Okay. You want to give it back to me?
And now with that, I will now give it back to the mayor.
Thank you. Mayor and council members reporting of county and regional meetings. John, anything?
Don't have anything. I did not attend any regional
Okay.
meetings. That'll be
Yeah,
it.
there's a lot of things going in the dark in the summer, so it's just, Linda, you got anything?
Yes, I do, thank you. Well, we all attended the budget review, which again was a proud moment for us as a city. We're in a good fiscal position, and thank you to the staff for all the hard work you do all year. On May 23rd, I attended, as a commissioner alternate, I attended the LAFCO meeting at the county meetings, just to see how the meeting is run and who meet the staff there. I didn't participate, was just in the audience. Also on May 23rd, RTA had their board meeting where they approved their operation and capital budgets. They updated their safety policy and they approved their short-range transit plan. On the 23rd, I also, it was a busy day. On the 23rd, was invited to attend the Paris State of the City. On May 27th, I attended, I didn't attend our our Memorial Day event because I attended the West Coast Thunder event, fundraising event at Lake Elsinore as a board member for the cemetery, Riverside National Cemetery. So that was a very nice event where the proceeds from that event would go to support the cemetery, their fundraising. And there were probably about 3,000 motorcycles there. West Coast Thunder is the group that, motorcycle group that goes and accompanies veteran burials and so on. And I just wanted to also say that I have from Riverside Transit Agency, I'm going to provide these to Darlene so that she can include them in our website. 25-cent rides all summer for kids under 18, and youth ride free from July 1, 24 to June 30 on Riverside Transit Agency vehicles. We're in the service area for Riverside Transit Agency, so I'll put this on the website so people can take a look at it and get their kids around town a lot easier and at lower fares. And then my last announcement is free lunch program starts on June 12th through July 19th at our 4th Street Park. And lunch starts at 10:30. There's one other site in Yucaipa, that same program that we run here in our city, and that's at the Yucaipa Community Park. Our lunch starts at 10:30 and theirs starts at 11:30. So look forward to having our kids eat their free lunch during the summer. And that's all I have.
Thank you. How about you, Jeff?
So I had a Regional Conservation Authority, RCA, meeting today. The majority of the agenda was consent items, just routine business, and then the rest of the business had to be discussed in closed session, so I can't comment on that. So there was one, that leaves one item on the agenda, and that was just a Board of Directors and Executive Director report. Executive Director did not have a report, and the Board of Director we had a brief discussion on why we don't offer a Species of the Month anymore. And so some board members were really miffed about that, and so they're going to be bringing that back. So I'll be sharing that with you in future meetings, Species of the Month
You
again.
running out of things, or is that the deal? I'll give you a list.
So apparently people, that got phased off the agenda for whatever reason, but they're going to be bringing it back.
Thank you. Wendy?
I did have a WRCOG meeting today. They went over the IREN annual report and gave us some updates on that. They also had guidelines, WRCOG guidelines and framework for new programs and incentives, and they had an update on the committee procedures. We also have our General Assembly coming up June 20th at Pachanga, and that will be, I don't know if you've gotten your tickets. You can go online at WRCOG and purchase tickets. That'll be Sean McVay, head coach of the LA Rams, will be the main speaker. And then our following meeting will be the next day on the 21st at 10 a.m. and July is dark, so we won't have a meeting then.
Okay. Let the buyer beware. Graduation is coming. You're going to see a lot of wackos out on the streets on graduation day and everything else, and at night. And please, be careful, people, and talk to your kids or, all of them. But, this is a time to go out and enjoy and look forward to a new life. So it's people be careful. I'm seeing a lot of snake skins on my property, so must be something being active out there. With that, I'll turn it over to the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I wanted to announce we are bringing back our popsicles in the park. The first one will be on June 19th at 1 p.m. That'll take place at 4th Street Park. And then on July 18th, we will have another popsicles in the park at Summerwind Park, also at 1 p.m. So June 19th at 4th Street Park and July 18th at Summerwind Park. If you've been over in the Sandalwood Drive overpass recently, you would notice that they finally have started the repaving project, starting with the ADA ramps that Caltrans required us to build. And then next week we will start to see the granite overlay take place, and that will take place overnight. So they're going to be doing work at night on that project. So hopefully we'll have nice new pavement by the end of next week. So we're looking forward to that. Just a reminder, deadline to submit comments on the Mesa Verde Notice of Preparation for their EIR is a week from today, Monday, June 10th. So if people want to provide written comments, they can do so. A copy of the NOP is on our website. And finally, I wanted to give an update on Assembly Bill 2410 that's in relating to senior grab and go meal programs that the city of Calimesa spearheaded. That passed the Assembly 73-0. And so our little piece of legislation that we helped get through is through the Assembly. So the next step is the Senate Committee on Human Services, who, by the way, that committee is vice chaired by our own Senator Rosalicia Ochoa Bogue. So we've got a very good ally of ours going to be over at least part of that committee hearing. So looking forward to that. No hearing date has been set yet for that bill, but I will keep everyone posted as I learn more. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Okay. With that, I will adjourn the meeting of the Chamber of Commerce, or not Chamber of Commerce. What am I doing? Jesus, I'm off in space right now. But until June 17th, and thank you for coming.